For thousands of years, cultures from East Asia to Eastern Europe relied on mushrooms not just as food, but as survival staples, medicine, and trade goods. In many periods of history, the ability to cultivate mushrooms gave communities an edge when crop failures struck or harsh winters closed in. Today, mushroom farming remains one of the most accessible, profitable, and low-resource agricultural skills a beginner can learn. And for anyone interested in self-reliance, homesteading, or old-world techniques that still outperform modern shortcuts, mushroom cultivation is a perfect entry point. If you stay with me for the next minute, you'll see how simple it is to start producing food that grows fast, requires no farmland, and thrives in spaces where most crops fail. It's one of the few farming systems that beginners can master in a single season, yet experts still rely on the same basic principles used centuries ago. Understanding why mushrooms are the perfect beginner crop sets the foundation for success. Mushrooms don't grow like vegetables. They aren't plants at all, but fungi, which means they don't need light, deep soil, or extensive watering cycles. They rely on a substrate, usually straw, sawdust, logs, or compost, and transform it into nutrient-dense food in a fraction of the time it takes traditional crops. Historically, this was what made mushrooms so valuable. Monasteries kept them for winter food, Chinese medicinal growers relied on them as tonics, and forest communities harvested them from rotting wood long before formal agriculture existed. For beginners today, the advantage is the same. Mushrooms allow you to turn minimal space into a steady, productive food source. The real key is understanding what species to start with and how to prepare their growing environment. Starting with oyster mushrooms gives you the fastest, most beginner-friendly results. Oyster mushrooms have been cultivated for centuries because they tolerate a wide range of conditions and grow aggressively. They thrive on simple materials such as wheat straw, sorghum straw, cardboard, or sawdust pellets. A beginner can start with a basic approach that has worked for generations. Pasteurize straw, inoculate it with spawn, pack it into bags, and maintain humidity. This process is simple enough that someone working out of a spare room, shed, or shaded outdoor area can produce several kilograms in a few weeks. A practical example is starting with a 5-kilogram bag of straw, cutting it into small pieces, pouring boiling water over it to reduce contaminants, letting it drain, mixing it thoroughly with oyster mushroom grain spawn, and sealing it in breathable grow bags. Within 10 to 14 days, the mycelium colonizes the substrate, and once you cut openings in the bag and maintain moisture, mushrooms begin to form. Maintaining humidity and temperature is the heart of mushroom farming. Throughout history, mushroom growers learned that fungi depend more on moisture than anything else. Even ancient growers kept mushrooms in cellars, caves, and shaded stone rooms to maintain consistent humidity. Beginners today can achieve the same results with very simple methods. A small indoor setup can be as straightforward as a plastic storage tent or a metal shelving unit wrapped in clear plastic to hold moisture. A basic spray bottle, used several times a day, maintains humidity if you don't yet have a humidifier. Oyster mushrooms fruit best at temperatures between 15 and 24 degrees Celsius, which means most indoor environments work without special equipment. For farmers working outdoors under shade cloth, consistent watering of the surrounding area helps stabilize humidity. The principle is the same across every method. Keep the environment moist, clean, and well ventilated to avoid mould. For viewers who appreciate older, woodland-based methods, shiitake mushrooms grown on hardwood logs are one of the most historically grounded forms of mushroom cultivation. This technique dates back centuries in Japan and China, where growers cut hardwood logs in winter, drilled holes, inserted spawn, sealed them with wax, and stacked the logs in shaded forests for a slow but reliable yield. Modern beginners can do the same. After inoculating the logs, they require only periodic soaking to trigger fruiting. A single set of logs can produce mushrooms for 3 to 5 years, offering a long-term food source with minimal upkeep. For survivalists or off-grid growers, this is a method worth mastering, because once the logs are set up, nature does most of the work. Many new growers don't realize that harvesting mushrooms at the wrong time can reduce both shelf life and future flushes. Oyster mushrooms should be picked when the edges of their caps flatten out instead of curling upward. Shiitake mushrooms should be harvested when the caps open to around 70 or 80%. The steps are simple. Twist or cut the clusters cleanly at the base, avoid damaging the growing surface, and immediately place them in breathable containers. Historically, gatherers often used woven baskets instead of sealed bags to prevent moisture buildup, and the same principle holds true today. Proper handling keeps mushrooms fresh longer and prevents contamination for future flushes. Mushroom farming is one of the rare agricultural systems where scaling doesn't mean expanding outward. Instead, growers build vertically or add additional batches. A single shelf can hold multiple bags, each producing several flushes. A room the size of a small pantry can generate weekly harvests. Once you understand the basic steps, inoculation, colonization, fruiting, you can repeat them continuously. A practical approach for beginners is to start with 2 or 3 small batches, stagger them by a week, and slowly increase production once you're comfortable maintaining humidity and cleanliness. This ensures a continuous supply without overwhelming your schedule. Mushroom farming remains one of the most accessible and resilient food production systems. Whether you're a beginner looking for your first agricultural project, or a seasoned survivalist curious about low-input food systems, mushroom cultivation offers reliable returns, fast harvests, and deep historical roots. The same methods used centuries ago still work because mushrooms haven't changed. They reward consistency, cleanliness, and attention to moisture. Once you master the basics, you gain the ability to produce food in any season, in almost any space. If you found this guide useful, subscribe to FarmLab for more practical, historically grounded tutorials. Share this video with someone who's ready to start producing their own food using methods that have stood the test of time.